my cord?
Hi everyone, I'm April and you're watching the Tangled Cat Speaks. So it is mid-March 2021 and I got a little bit of knitting done. I think I've only got 2 finished objects to show you or to talk about. One of them I don't have anymore, but and then I've got a couple of things that I'm working on, and of course some books that I've been delving into. So let's go ahead and get started. Just as a reminder, this is mainly a knitting and crocheting podcast. I do sometimes talk about books and maybe movies or TV shows that I might be watching. Sorry, my nose is kind of itchy because spring is starting to happen here in New Mexico and my allergies are just wild. Anyway, so that's what this is. A knitting podcast with a little bit of books and movies and TV shows. Let's see, what else can I tell you? I am, like I just mentioned, in New Mexico. I am in a city called Rio Rancho. I keep shaking the table, sorry. I'm in a city called Rio Rancho, which is just to the north and west of Albuquerque. So that's that. Let's go ahead and get started with the first finished object, which is what I'm wearing right now, and I don't have it buttoned all the way. I'll explain why in a minute. But this is the Mountaintop Cardigan by Nalu Knits. I believe she goes, her patterns are in Ravelry under her name, Julie Mackesy, and I'll put that information up here. I did her size 7. I think there's 8 sizes and I did 7, the size 7. And I used Ottoman Indigo Sport Weight, and this is the Umber colorway. And then this contrast color is a fingering weight tweed. And I don't know the name of the yarn. I don't know the brand. I don't know anything about it. I lost the label some time ago. I don't know anything about it. But it's this really, really pretty bronzy color. Has a little bit of that same kind of orange in it, some darker browns, almost a greenish effect, which is why I chose these green buttons. However, these buttons are still a little too small for the buttonholes and they keep popping open. So most of the time I've just been wearing this kind of open. But I will put some pictures up here of me wearing it fully buttoned. It was a test knit for Julie, and it should be out now. It should be up on Ravelry, so go ahead and have a look at that. It comes just to I made it a little bit longer. I think I made it about 2 inches longer than called for, because it should be the way she has it written. It's just at the waistline. I made it just a little bit longer because that's what I prefer. I made the sleeves exactly according to specification. And I mentioned that I did the size 7. Now what that means is I am a 52-inch bust. And this fit perfectly. It came out just perfectly. It does have some rows in the back, some short rows in the back to raise up the back neck a little bit. And so it hangs beautifully. It just fits perfectly. She did really, really well on these bigger sizes. So super excited about that. And I just love it. It's so, so nice. My daughter actually liked it. So I might be making another one for her in a size, maybe 1 or 2 sizes smaller, but we'll see. But this is it, and I love it. Now the buttons, I put these on. These are actually bigger than the buttons that were called for. I think it was a 1/2 inch button. I can't remember, but I bought the buttons. There were some pretty, kind of like a tiger eye, but a little bit lighter. But they were way too small for my buttonholes. And this was actually the first time that I've ever picked up for a button band, so I'm pretty dang proud of myself. You know what, let me take this off so I can show you. I'm pretty dang proud of myself for having picked up the button band, and it doesn't look, oh, that's an end that got poked to the wrong direction, but it looks really nice and even. Nothing's bunched or gapy. But the buttonholes, for whatever reason, just ended up bigger than the buttons that I had purchased. So, not wanting to go hunt for more buttons and buy more, I used what I had in my stash, and they fit, but they pop out rather easily. And I don't know if it's because of the style of button. These are kind of like a, I don't know what you call it, like a shank maybe? Not exactly a shank, but kind of. So they definitely don't lay flat, and that might be part of the problem. I love how they look. They just don't keep my cardigan closed. So I'm gonna see if I can at some point take these off as carefully as possible and try to find some other buttons that are just a slight bit bigger. Now you can see there's some texture here on the bottom of the cardigan, and this is a little bit on the bottom of the sleeves too. It's just a real simple knit and purl texture. And then you've got the beautiful lace that goes all the way around. It's not raglan, it's a round yoke shaping, but it's so, so pretty. And I'm sorry that I chose this to sit with this wall behind me to show this sweater. I rent this home and it's only got, most of it is like a eggshell wall color on the walls, except for two walls. I've got a dark olive green in one wall of the living room, and here in the dining room I've got this orange wall. I rent, so I can't change it. Which is fine, I don't mind it. I actually kind of like how it looks, but it's just, you're not seeing the pretty color of this yarn as well because I chose to sit in front of this wall for some reason. Anyway, so there's a really pretty lace, and it's all very easy to follow. Her instructions are perfect. So, and I've done, this was the second test knit that I've done for her. I did a while back, the Dahlia pullover sweater. It was really, really fun too. So check her out, Julie Mackesy, also known as Nalu Knits. Now the other project that I finished was the Just Peachy shawl that I had mentioned last time. I had just barely started it, and it was done in a dark green, like a dark forest green, white, and yellow to represent the colors for the football team, the U.S. football team, Green Bay Packers. That's who the recipient favors as far as football goes. So she told me that, and this is what I came up with, and I'll put a picture here of the finished shawl. But that's what I finished. Those are the two projects that I finished. The shawl was done in the white and the green were both stroll fingering, and the green was called Aurora Heather and the white is just white. The yellow is called Hazmat Suit, and that is the color dyed by Breaking Yarn. I mentioned her before. She does colors that are based on or inspired by the television show that was set here in Albuquerque called Breaking Bad. So it was a perfect yellow, and then I just had to go and find, and I already had the white, and it was just a matter of finding the right green, which ended up being the Aurora Heather. So it turned out really, really beautifully. I did modify the pattern a little bit as far as color placement, because the colors are there's only two colors listed in the pattern, but I added a third, and I changed the border a little bit. And all of that is in my Ravelry. All of those notes, if you ever wanted to look there. On Ravelry, I am listed as I am the Tangled Cat. And just so you know, I'm listed as the Tangled Cat on Instagram as well. I always forget to say that. I don't know why. Today is a scrunchy kind of day. I laugh every time I put my hair up like this because my ex-husband used to call this the onion head. So sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, oh no, I got the onion head look going on. Anyway, so let's see. So now we can go ahead and move forward into whips. Let's see. So I don't know where I want to start. I got several things going on actually. I'm trying to get through some things that I started in 2020 and I haven't quite finished. Oh, did I bring it? I did bring it. Let's start with a small one. So I have a hoe, a half finished object. So this is the Spring Heart Socks by Kia, who is also behind the podcast Kia Spot. She is Swedish. Her pattern is in English, and this is the first time ever that I have done a full color work sock. I've done like little, inserts or whatever here and there, but I've never done a full-on color work sock before. So this was interesting, and I think I mentioned the last time that I wanted to get back to these because it's been a year since I started these. It's been a year and I still only have one sock done. But I was stuck trying to decipher what she meant here. I've never done all of this before, like the gusset and how to how to do the stitches and everything. And it was a little bit challenging. At least that's what it seemed like a year ago. But when I pulled this out earlier in February, for some reason it just clicked and I was like, oh, why did I wait so long? That's not that hard. Anyway, so this really zoomed along. So on the other sock, I don't have the other sock here with me, but I'm about halfway through. It's top down, and I'm about halfway through the hearts. So once I get back to it, it shouldn't take me more than a couple of days if I just work on just this. But I keep getting distracted, as I usually do. The only modification that I made on this is the bottom, because I really loved this color so much. And in her pattern, that's the only place that you see this third color. But I really loved it so much that I wanted it in the toe. So the color for the toe that she has, the way she has it written, is this lighter color. This lighter blue would have been down here, but I wanted this color so bad. And I didn't realize that until after you could see where I had already started the toe there, then that full row of that lighter blue. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to start blending in this other color. So I did some more color work in it. It's just one stitch of blue, one stitch of orange, one stitch of blue, one stitch orange, and alternated that for a few rows and then went straight into the orange alone. And all the while I was doing my decreases here, even in this color work. So it was a pretty fun pattern. I really, really enjoyed it, and I love this color combination, so I can't wait to get the other sock done. So go ahead and check out the Spring Heart Socks by, I don't know her last name, Elholm. I'll put it up here, but she does also have her podcast, Kia Spot. So that was that. That's one thing that I'm still working on. I've got the other sock sitting way over there across the room, and I didn't think to grab it. The other thing that I'm working on, very, very excited about, I think I mentioned, and I'm sure I mentioned, and if you follow me on Instagram at all, you'll have seen that I started posting progress pics of this cardigan. It is the Spring Connection jacket by Drops. And it's, I believe, 7 colors or 8 colors. I chose to do 11 because I didn't quite have enough of some of the colors. So I just started adding in other colors and ended up creating my own color sequence, because I wasn't, obviously my 11 colors weren't going to fit into their 7 color sequence. So I changed it around a little bit. And I'm using all Toad Hollow fingering yarns. I think it's I think it's 100% toad. I can't remember, but I will put it up here, the base that I'm using, but it's all toad hollow fingering weight yarns, which are 400 grams per, 400 yards per 100 grams. And I am loving it. It is funky and it is wild and it is just exactly what I want. So let's see. This is the back neck. And this is the back, which is, it started here in the middle with this one. I believe, no, it started here. And it's kind of, the back part is kind of done on a, I don't know if you could see because it's huge, but it's done like a log cabin, like you would make a log cabin blanket, where you got one and then you go along the side and then you go along the side. Each time you turn to another side, it's another color added. And that's kind of how this is created. And I've got so many colors. This is some shaping. This is the armhole, which is, it seems huge, and it kind of is because it does, when I tried it on, it's kind of low, which is fine because it's going to be a loose, baggy kind of cardigan. It's not supposed to be, well, at least mine isn't turning out to be, and I like it big like this, but it's going to be loose, something I can wear other things underneath. But it's also going to end up having kind of like a slightly folded collar on the top, I think. Just, I'm still trying to figure out because it's a drops pattern, and I've noticed this with drops patterns, is they give very minimal instructions. So for this, all it says is sew the shoulder seams, and then sew in the sleeves into the armholes. It doesn't tell you how all of these weird little angly bits, and this is one front, this is the other front that's also got weird angly bits, and it doesn't tell you how all of these are supposed to puzzle together. And I've never sewn a garment together before, so I'm like, and it just says attach the sleeves. And it, from what I can gather, it's a set-in sleeve type of situation. I am going to be doing a whole lot of YouTubing videos to try to figure out how to do that part. I did see that a lot of people had questions regards to sewing up the shoulder and all of the seams, all of these angly bits. And so there is a few responses on the website, the Drops website, because when you go to Ravelry and you click on the pattern, it takes you to the Drops website. And that's where the whole pattern is. And there is down on the bottom an area for comments. And a lot of people were like, okay, you say to sew it, but we don't know how to sew it. So I'm garnering a little bit of information from there. Hopefully it'll work out. I'm going to pause for just a minute because my battery's dying. Hold on one moment. Okay, I think I got it. All right, so sewing all of the ends, or all of the edges. I think it'll be all right. Figure it out. I'm loving it. I love all of the colors. It is so wild and funky, and it's going to be the best little cardigan to just wear around the house. And honestly, I'll probably wear it out too because I love it that much. So I am done with the entire body. I'm working on the sleeves now. I can go real quick through the colors if you'd like. Let's see. This is, again, it's all Toad Hollow yarns. They're online at toadhollowNJ.com. This is their red, based on Red Riding Hood. This is Autumn Fairies. This is Elderberry Fairy, I think. And this is Acorn Fairy. And then, let's see, we've got Gingerbread House. This is called Joy. And these colors are repeated at least 2 times each. Let's see, this is Wolf here. This is Ursula the Sea Witch. This one is Beech Nut Fairy. This is Privet Fairy, which that is my absolute favorite. Okay, moving on. This one here is deep purple, is called Ramdas. And I think that's all of them. Is that 11? Yeah, I think that's all of them. Now I'm at the sleeves and I've got this much of Ramdas left. Whoa. This was what I wanted for both sleeves. I'm not positive that I'm gonna have enough. So what I've decided to do is do the tops of the sleeve down to the cuff. This is going to be one sleeve. This is going to be the other sleeve. And then for the cuffs, I'm doing this one and this one. So it's going to look like that. So I've got the two darker ones on the bottom and then the two lighter ones on top, but opposite. So this is Wolf, Elderberry Fairy, Beech Nut Fairy, and Ramdas. So those are going to be my sleeves, and I'm hoping that I have enough. Now the sleeves are work from cuff up to the shoulder, to the cap, the sleeve cap. Now if I run, I'm going to do this one first because obviously I have less, but I don't think I have enough of this to do both sleeves. And I don't want the sleeves striped if I can help it. Now if I do get to the end of this and I still have some more sleeve to go, then I will pick another color to finish off the top part if I have to. I prefer not to, but if I have to, that's what I'll do. And I don't know what colors to choose yet if that's the case. So I'm going to do the smaller one first so that I know, oh, I ran out. I'm going to have to try to figure something out on the other sleeve, even if this happens to be enough to make the whole thing. If that makes sense. I want them, if I've got to switch a color, add a third color on this sleeve, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. But I'm kind of hoping not because I really like how that looks. Oh, that's not it. I really like how that looks. And I don't know what I would put to complement those. Anyway, so that's my sleeves and I've already started. Now the thing with my sleeves is it's, like I said, it's cuff up and the cuff itself is garter. The rest of the sleeve is stockinette. Now that kind of bugs me a little bit because the whole body is garter. And then you've got the cuff garter and then all of this is going to be smooth stockinette, which is a little bit strange to me. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I could just do it the sleeve in garter, but I know that garter stitches are shorter than stockinette stitches, and I don't know anything about, like I said, this is the first time I've done anything that I have to sew together garment wise, and I don't know how to convert all of that difference between garter and stockinette as far as the arm shaping is going to go, because I'm going to have to start increasing from the lower arm up into and do the sleeve and everything, and I don't know. That's too much for me to think about. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to go ahead and have the stockinette arm with the garter cuff. Now, what I did start with my normal cast on, which is the, what do you call it? The long tail cast on. And then I got a couple rows in, and I didn't really like how it looked because all of the other ends of this are the bind off edges. And it just looks so pretty and even and clean. And I wanted to be consistent with that, to have the bind off edge showing at the end of the cuff. And I didn't want to do anything fancy like a fancy cast on. One, because I was lazy and didn't want to have to look them up. And two, I don't think that they're all going to look like a bound off edge. So I went ahead and did a crochet provisional cast on that I can do without having to look up how. I've done it several times, so I know how to do it. So using the crochet hook and the knitting needle, I went ahead and provisionally cast it on the correct number of stitches directly onto the knitting needle. I know that you can do it by crocheting a chain and then picking up the loops of the chain, but Very Pink Knits has a video on how to do it where you can cast on using the crochet hook but directly onto the needle. So that's what I did. So this is my provisional edge here, this blue purpley color. And so I knitted the 6 centimeters that it required for the cuff, and then I bound off. And then what I'm going to do is go and pick up this edge. I'm going to unzip all of this provisional cast on and pick up, in this case it's going to be the Ramdas, and then work as written from there, from the cuff up to the sleeve, up the sleeve like that. I just wanted that bound off edge to match the rest of the cardigan. Probably very unnecessary, but that's what I wanted. So I've already done this. I just need to pick up the next color, and I decided, because I had my crochet hook out and I didn't want to wait till I finished the sleeve and then do the other one and try to find my crochet hook again. This way I get it all done at once. I'm already doing the cuff for the second sleeve in the Elderberry Fairy. And then it'll just sit and wait until I'm ready to pick up the other one. I suppose I could do them tandem because I've got this long, and I might actually do that. You know, knit a few rows, or knit across one sleeve and then knit across the other sleeve and then turn. That way they're completely identical. Yeah, I might actually do it that way. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm probably going to do it that way. Plus that'll keep me from doing the whole kind of like second sock syndrome, but second sleeve syndrome. Is that a thing? But that's my plan. And I'm very excited because I would like to wear this once before it gets crazy hot here in New Mexico. It's still chilly, but it's already been several times up in the 60s. We're gonna have a hot, hot, hot summer. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yay for air conditioning. So speaking of temperature, I did start something that I didn't mention in the last podcast, and that is a temperature shawl. The pattern I'm using is the something of something anniversary temperature shawl, I believe that's what it's called, and I'll put the name up here. And it's a shawl that started at one end and worked bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then decreased halfway through back to the other end. And it's got a lace edging knitted as you go. So this is where I'm at. This is the front side. This is the front side. So as you can see, it started here. This is the main body of the shawl. This is the lace edging. And you can see that I've been increasing every day. And I started, let's see, I have notes. I started this at the end of at the end of February. So it says February 25th in my notes. So organized. Yeah, right. But I started that, so I did have to catch up and go back on all of this. And there are a lot of weather forecast websites that you can also go back and look at the historical weather and put in the dates and stuff. So that's what I've been doing, and this is what I'm coming up with. And I didn't choose, I know a lot of people like to choose colors that are temperature-ish, you know, white for super cold, and gray and blues and reds for really hot days and stuff like that. I didn't do that. I decided to go through my stash because I'm supposed to not be buying stuff. I went through my stash and I found, originally this was my original idea, was I wanted to use these 3 colors together. And I thought socks. And then I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to make socks. And then I started throwing a whole bunch of other colors together. So here I am. I'm not gonna, I have, okay, this is my, my very stylish and unique knitting bag made just for me by Cheesecake Factory. Save your big bags, people. You never know when you're gonna need them. So, sorry for all the crinkling, but there is a lot of colors in here. You can't see any of that. So I've got ice blue because I wanted that to go with this, because that kind of goes with that, but not really. I just threw some colors together that I thought I might like. This little one, I love this. I've been saving this forever. This was back when I did the Adventurous Shawl by Aunt O'Brien for an Advent. So this was some leftover. And I've loved it forever, and I'm like, I don't know what to use, so I'm using it now. But most of this is all leftover yarns. I've got, this is Pandia's Jewels. I got a lot of Pandia's Jewels. Let's see. This was some more of that leftover that I showed last time. Raven's Croft by Blue Moon Fiber Arts. That I made some fingerless gloves and a beanie. This is what I have left. Most of this is, like I said, Pandia's Jewels. This is one that it was fingering weight bear knit picks that I dyed myself. I just mixed a whole bunch of greens and blues, and they kind of broke. If you know what that means, it means the colors that are are put together to make the overall color. It's food coloring. Sometimes they separate, and it's called breaking. That's what happened here. I had a bunch of colors and they broke, and it ended up giving this really cool look. I would never ever be able to recreate that, but there you go. Let's see, this one was from Maker's Haven when she used to die, I think, Amber Crawley. So I've got that. I got this to go with that because it's got sort of the peachy and then the reds. And then I thought this would look cool because it's got a little bit of dark speckles that might go with that. And then because I got that, I needed a dark purple. I was just throwing colors together, random. This isn't in any of the colors that I have, but I thought it would be dark. I thought it would look cool. Blues, greens, browns. I've got a gray in there. I think this is actually the only brown, except for whatever's in this. So I just thought these all kind of go together, but kind of not, and it's going to be fun and funky. And I chose the colors for each temperature, not in a fade or anything like that. I did it based on how much I have. And knowing New Mexico weather in general, which temperatures would be would pop up more often or less often. Also knowing that the beginning and the end of the year are going to have smaller rows. The middle of the year is going to have longer rows. So I tried to think, hopefully I've outwitted nature in this and it'll work and I don't run out of stuff, but that's what I did. I based it on how much I have of each color and what I'm hoping happens as far as when those temperatures are going to pop up or not. So far I haven't used my color for the coldest temperature, which would have been, if I have it set, I have all of the temperatures broken up. I've got 17 colors, and I go from 0 to, what do I have? 0 to I have 0 to 97 plus. Sorry, hold on. Where is that color? This one. So far, this was supposed to be my coldest color, which would have been anything from 1 to 6 degrees Fahrenheit or colder, but we don't generally get below 0 at all in New Mexico from time to time, but this could also be from, let's just say, 6 degrees Fahrenheit and below. But I haven't used this at all. This didn't come up at all in January or February and now March. So that color's not on there, but so far I've used all of the other ones, and I'm starting to get into the 50s. This one was like a high 50s, this darker color here, high 50s. So I'm going to start getting into the 60s and 70s now in April, I think. But I'm loving it so far, and I'm having such a good time with it. And I can't wait to see how the rest of the year plays out. It's really nice because I can work on it for about 5 minutes, 10 tops, if I'm distracted, a day. And if I don't work on it a day, I can, like I said, there's the websites that will tell you you can go back and work, like let's say I've skipped 5 days. I can go and check all of those days and work on 5 days at one time. So so far it hasn't felt like I'm trudging along. You know, if I skip a couple of days, it's okay. I'm having a really good time with it. We'll see how it gets towards the middle of the year when the rows get longer. But once it gets to the middle of the year, then it's going to start, you know, just when you feel like, oh, I'm done with this project, the rows are going to start getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and it's just going to feel like it's going faster and faster, and I'm going to be excited about that. Very, very happy. I have one other whip that I would like to show you, and I think I mentioned this ages ago. I got this for myself, this yarn for myself a couple of years ago. It was a sheepies, I don't know how to say it, yarn. This is cotton, Katona. This was a set of these little minis. These are, let's see, it's 100% mercerized cotton, 10 grams or 25 meters. So this is, I would say it's not a fingering weight, but it's not a worsted. I would say it's somewhere between, it's probably more like a sport weight. But there was 109 colors in the package. It was just this big old set, and I got all of them shoved into this bag. Some of them are very, 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 very similar, and you know, I'm trying to see, like these two are very, very similar. That is my only stipulation on what I'm working on with this, with all of these yarns, is I don't want two colors that look that similar to be next to each other, because it's going to be like it's kind of a scrappy project. But other than that, I'm kind of picking at random. Well, I had originally started a crocheted blanket. I believe it was double crochet, and I was using, I think I was using an H or an I. And I got several rows in, several colors in, and I was just, you can see here, I was just going and going until the color ran out, and then I would join the other color. So there is kind of that jagged look. But as it got longer, it got heavier, and it started to just feel stretched out, and I wasn't even a quarter of the way through the 109 colors, and I'm like, that's just going to look sloppy. I need to tighten that up. So I went down to, where is it? I think I went down to a G, and I I started I don't have it here. Of course I don't have it in here. I'm pretty sure it's a G. But I did the chainless foundation for half double crochet. So I went down about 2 hook sizes, And this was the result. It's definitely a stiffer, firmer fabric. And because it's half double crochet, it looks the same on both sides because it gives you that ridge. If you're familiar with crochet, you get this little ridge with half double crochets. That's US half double crochet. It might be called a double in the UK. But you can see it's very, very different in the way that the fabric feels. And like I said, this was getting kind of stretched out because of the weight, and I think this is going to hold up a lot better as it gets heavier. Now, because I was using a smaller hook, I had yarn left over to make it about the same length as the other blanket. And I also wanted to do away with the jagged look and a color at the end of the row. So that left me with color left over. And by the way, I'm going to be making this a blanket that lays this way, all the way down. So this goes to my feet. I will probably be putting a color along as a border on either end. And I'm just tucking in my ends as I go. Every time I start a new row, I tuck in the ends. And I have these little markers here because sometimes it's kind of hard for me to see the last row or the last stitch in the row. So I've got one on either end so that I always know which stitch to go into, because I don't want it to start going in or to go out because I've missed a stitch or I've accidentally added a stitch. But with the leftover yarn, I went ahead and started something else. So I've got this little length of yarn, and I decided to get an H size hook and do a granny. I did a little granny square, and that's all I had enough for. So each time I finish a stripe here, I make a granny square, and then I attach the next square as I go on the second round. So it's 2 round, that's the size of it, 2 rounds, and I just attach them as I go. So this is what I've ended up with. And I know that this is, let's see, I think it's going to be like 9 by 12. It'll end up being a little rectangle, and I can either leave it like this as a baby blanket, or I can get a single color and just start crocheting granny all the way around and around until I get to a size that I want. I'm not sure about that yet, but so far this is what I'm doing with some of the leftover. Now, I still do end up with leftovers after each granny. So I'm doing a third project. And this is using a small hook. This is an E, very tiny. And I'm doing a corner to corner crochet. And this one I am doing very scrappy, very jagged. And I'm just doing a magic knot at the end of when I start a new color. And just going and going and going. And this is 6 inches wide, and I'm just going to make it however long it ends up being, and it'll be a scarf. And if it's, I think it'll be long enough. I mean, this is, I don't know, maybe about what, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20 colors. So this is a fifth of the length. And if it's not quite as long as I would like, I can always join it into an infinity type scarf. But so yeah, I've got 3 different projects all going at the same time with the same yarn. So even though the colors are the same, the projects are very different and all have very different feels about them. So I'm almost done with the colors that I had originally started with. And then I'll be blindly dipping back into this bag. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. It's crazy randomness, but that's kind of what I do. I have so many whips. It's just ridiculous. It's in the 20s. It's ridiculous. So I'm just trying to focus on getting a lot of those things done. And I am working from stash right now. And I'm loving that. I'm loving using up every last little bit into something. It just feels purposeful. It feels thoughtful. As far as books, I've been reading a ton. So I'm going to just go through a few of the books that I've gone through. I told you I'm still on my Star Wars kick, and I'm reading all of the quote unquote canon novels. I found a list online, and there's a whole bunch that he has them listed in chronological order in the Star Wars chronology in their timeline, not when they were published or released. So it's really cool. Some of them are the main characters. Some of them are side characters. That's what the books are based on. Quite a bit. Let's see. Ahsoka, which follows Ahsoka Tano after she left the Jedi Order. Let's see. Then there was Catalyst, which is a Rogue One novel. And if you're familiar with the movies, Rogue One comes just before Star Wars Episode 4, where we are introduced to Luke. This is just, Rogue One is just before that. But this novel is even a prequel to that. So you get a little bit more background on that end. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of it. Let's see. Then there was another book called Lords of the Sith, which was basically about Darth Sidious and Darth Vader, and a situation that they got into and how they kind of got out of it. So it's kind of a interesting thing because, you kind of think all of these are, you're seeing it from the perspective of the quote unquote good guys fighting the quote unquote bad guys. But this is all about them and a situation that they got into. And even though it is still good versus evil, you kind of see it from a different perspective. So it was pretty interesting. Lords of the Sith. Let's see. And right now I'm in the middle of a book, actually not in the middle. I've got about 3 chapters left of Tarkin. And Tarkin is a Moff, which is like a really high ranking military official. And he shows up in a lot of movies and the Clone Wars cartoons, and he just shows up a lot, but this is kind of his backstory. So it's kind of interesting. Like I said, it's interesting to see some of these characters from their point of view, even though they're the bad guy. I really enjoy how these are coming along. And there's quite a few more. I haven't even gotten anywhere near to, the Star Wars that I am used to, that I first started with back in the 70s, with Luke. I haven't even gotten into any of that yet. So, but I'm having a really good time reading these. And then I believe I mentioned that I was going to be reading Andromeda Strain last time. Because a guy that I watch on YouTube, it's called Mike's Book Reviews, I think. He said he was going to be doing a Michael Crichton book once a month. And February's was Andromeda Strain. And I read that and I loved it. It was so, so good. And now in March, I read Terminal Man. Let me tell you, that one wigged me out. I don't know exactly what it was about it, but I kept having to put it down every couple of chapters because I was like, oh, that's so weird, because it deals a lot with computers and how much computers can do on their own without the help of humans, and yet they still kind of need the human. It's weird, and I loved it, but it was creeping me out a little bit because a computer is a miniature computer is basically put inside this man's brain. And the man happens to have a psychotic issue already, like a pre-existing psychotic issue. And then they want to put this computer in him. It was wigging me out. I kept having to put it down, and I was like, my heart's beating too fast. I got to go do something silly. So that's what I've been reading. I'm almost done with the Joshua Croft series. I don't remember which episode I mentioned it, but it's Joshua Croft's Mysteries by Walter Satterthwaite, and these are set in New Mexico, mainly Santa Fe, and that's why I wanted to read them, because they're set in my state, and I think that's exciting. So I don't see that a whole lot. So there's 5 books, and I'm halfway through the 4th book, which is called The Hanged Man. And really, 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 really enjoying that. And then I'm also listening to an audiobook by Dervla McTiernan called The Good Turn. And I've talked about her before. It's Scottish. It's set in Scotland, and the reader is Scottish, and her accent is just amazingly beautiful. I love it so much. I love listening to it. And it's part of a series, the Cormac Riley series. And so this is just another installment, and it's called The Good Turn, and I'm super, super excited about it. I'm about halfway through with that one. And that's basically what I've been reading, so it's quite a bit. I've been allowing myself a little more time to read, like read, not just listen to audiobooks, because last year I had way more audiobooks than actual books, and I've got so many actual physical books in my room that I need to get to, and so I'm trying to make more time to sit down and read, not just listen, read. That's it for this month. I hope that you've had a wonderful month so far, and I hope you have another good month to come. I'm very happy that you've chosen to spend a little bit of time with me, and I hope that we can spend some more time again next month. If you've already subscribed, thank you very much. And if you haven't, please do. You are all very welcome here in my little corner of the internet, and just to spend a little bit of time with me. And we'll do it again next time. Bye.